The boy Temujin, who was destined to become the ruler of half the world, went through hunger, humiliations, and slavery. He was hunted, tortured, and betrayed. He survived when it seemed impossible. His strength, intelligence, and will to live were unparalleled compared to those of an ordinary person. In the year 1772, in the Mongolian steppe, the formidable leader of the local tribes, Khan Isuge, decides that it's time for his 9-year-old son, Temujin, to find a bride. To accomplish this, he plans to journey with the boy to a remote Murkit settlement. Long ago, Khan had taken his bride from them, and now he wishes to make peace in this way. The road is long, so along the way, with a small army, Isuge decides to take a rest in a friendly settlement. There, Temujin meets a girl named Borte, who behaves unusually boldly. Not only does she strike up a conversation with the young heir first, but she also tells him that he must choose her as his wife. Evening falls, and Khan Isuge enjoys some drinks in the company of his friend Starva and relaxes. Later, Temujin tells his father that he wants to choose a bride from here, but Khan objects. He believes that the representatives of this tribe are weak and without prospects. Moreover, reconciliation with the Murkits is still necessary. However, his son insists, and Khan does not dare to go against his will. The next day, all the local girls are presented before Temujin. His father instructs him on how to choose a bride. The boy goes around the candidates several times, but in reality, he is just pretending to contemplate his decision. Isuge was not too pleased with such a situation. However, Borte's father supported him and gave a sable fur coat to the new ally as a sign of friendship. They agreed that the wedding would take place in 5 years. Khan's troops set out on their journey, and before leaving, Temujin gave his future bride a bone from a white raven as a token of good luck. On the way back through the steppe, a severe thunderstorm began, and all the troops took shelter under the rocks. These people were extremely afraid of lightning and thunder, believing it to be a manifestation of their god's anger. After some time, the weather improved, and the travelers mounted their horses once again. However, soon the scorching sun began to wear them down, and they decided to stop for a rest. Isuge's advisor warned him that representatives of a hostile tribe were resting at the same stop. However, Khan believed that no one would spill blood there for no reason. Therefore, he graciously accepted a cup of milk as a gift from another tribe and also offered them his hospitality. The advisors of Khan warn him against drinking milk as it could be poisoned, but Isuge is unwilling to break with tradition. He drinks the milk, and the leader of the opposing tribe's army does the same. However, the advisor turns out to be right after all. Before his death, Isuge tells his son that from now on, he will be the leader of their tribe and advises him to seek help from the god Tengri. Upon returning home, the forces of young Khan discover that they have been robbed by Targatai, the leader of the Taijits, who had long awaited an opportunity for revenge against Isuge. His people took away their livestock, set fire to their homes, and Targatai attempted to kill the young son of his enemy. However, Temujin's mother intervened and prevented the boy's murder. Then, Targatai decides to wait until the boy grows up and orders him to wear a collar. As a result, young Khan endures many painful days. He cannot eat, drink, or even shoo away flies. His only solace comes from the care of a local elder who looks after him. However, one day, when Targatai comes to measure Temujin's height and demands that he be fed better, the boy realizes that he can no longer continue like this. He escapes from the tribe and comes to a sacred place where he prays to the god Tengri, seeking help and liberation from the collar. The young warrior embarks on a journey. Many times he has to face death, but he still survives. When he turns 14, he decides to finally confront his enemies. But first, he promises himself to reclaim his beloved Borte. Temujin and his future wife set out for his native settlement. The mother of the young Khan rejoices in the bride, and they finally begin to live a peaceful and happy life together. However, the peace doesn't last long. One night, a fierce masked army attacks the settlement. It turns out to be the Murkits, who have come to avenge Temujin for the past wrongdoings of his father and the abduction of Borte. Not finding the young couple in the settlement, the warriors set fire to the local houses and set off in pursuit of Khan and his bride. Soon, they catch up with Temujin and Borte, who are resting in the steppe. Khan's bride quickly jumps on a horse and escapes the pursuit. However, one arrow still reaches Temujin, and he falls face down on his horse. Borte sees that the enemies are approaching and decides to sacrifice herself. She lashes Khan's horse with a whip, sending it home, and surrenders herself as a captive. Meanwhile, Temujin's horse finds its way back home. Soon, he recovers from his injuries and goes to visit Jamusha, his longtime friend whom he has known since childhood. Temujin asks his comrade for help in freeing his beloved from the captivity of the Murkits. Initially, Jamuka mocks his friend, saying that Mongols shouldn't wage wars over women, and it would be better if Temujin found another bride. However, he realizes how seriously Temujin takes this matter and agrees to assist him. They decide to undertake the expedition the following year, as it would be a more suitable time for military campaigns. With powerful forces under the command of Temujin and Jamuka, they set out for the territory of the Mirkits. The Mirkits notice that the land is scattered with stones and become disoriented. However, they soon realize that their adversaries have been hiding among the rocks, ready to launch a surprise attack. An intense battle begins, during which the Mirkits quickly lose their warriors. Removing the mask from one of the fallen, Temujin sneaks into the settlement and finds his wife. Khan sees that Borte is pregnant, and next to her lies her guard with his throat cut. Jamuka joins them and reports on the battle. Together, they head to the Jajirat tribe, led by Jamuka. The men celebrate their victory, and Jamuka suggests to Temujin that he should stay and rule together to more effectively deal with their enemies. Later, they ask Temujin how he wants to distribute his share of the loot. Unlike his comrade who kept everything for himself, Khan takes only a small portion and asks to distribute the rest among the warriors and the families of the fallen. This earns the respect of the troops, as no one had shown such generosity to them before. However, after Borte tells her husband that ruling together is a bad idea, Temujin leaves the settlement and takes a few of Jamuka's warriors with him. His comrade, amazed by his audacity, decides to follow Temujin and find out why he took part of his army. Khan explains that he did so at the behest of his subjects and in accordance with Mongolian traditions, and he cannot dispute their decision. Time passes. Borte gives birth to a son. One day, Temujin is informed that some of Jamuka's men tried to steal his herd, and one of his herders shot an enemy warrior. The problem is that the fallen warrior turns out to be Jamuka's beloved brother, Taishar, which makes a conflict inevitable. The herder is fearful and suggests presenting Taishar's head to Jamuka as an apology, but Temujin refuses to treat his subordinate in such a manner. Targutai, who has long harbored a desire for revenge against Temujin since childhood, seizes this opportunity. He approaches the leader and proposes joining forces to take revenge on Khan. Jamuka agrees, and his massive army catches Temujin's tribe right on the road. Khan orders a portion of his warriors to take cover and protect the women and children while he himself takes charge of the defense. As they bid farewell, Borte hands her husband a bone from a white crow. Temujin's small but valiant forces are unable to withstand the enormous enemy army. They resist to the end, but ultimately, Khan finds himself alone facing the enemy. He is surrounded by armed adversaries and is forced to fall to the ground and surrender. Jamuka brings his former friend to his possessions. He orders Temujin to plead for mercy, but he refuses and continues to refer to the opponent as a brother. Then Jamuka declares that he is not his brother but a Khan, and hands Temujin over to his subjects as a slave. A year later, Temujin finds himself in the border town of the Tanguts, where he and other slaves attract the attention of a wealthy newcomer. He is surprised why Temujin costs 5 times more than his fellow sufferers, but still buys him, despite the warning from the accompanying wise monk. The slave owner takes Temujin to the Tengu state, where he specially constructs a prison for him. Khan sits there entirely alone, with almost no food and water, and the scorching sun burns his skin. In addition, local residents constantly pass by and mock the Mongol, claiming that he was supposed to ravage their land according to a prophecy. But one day, an old monk approaches his cell and asks Temujin not to destroy the local monastery when the time for conquest comes. Then Khan asks him to kill the night guard and provide him with the key to the cell. The monk refuses, as it contradicts his religious beliefs. So Temujin asks him to deliver a message to Borte, along with a piece of white crow bone. The monk sets out to deliver this message to the Gans, but they refuse, considering it too dangerous in the Mongolian steppes. Then he decides to fulfill the request himself. The old man walks for a long time in the desert, but in the end, the sun overcomes him, and he falls lifeless to the ground. However, Borte's house, where she has already given birth to a daughter during her husband's imprisonment, turns out to be nearby. Borte notices a merchant from the Tangut state in the desert and asks him to take her and the children with him. He reluctantly agrees, and soon she reaches a city where she changes her clothes to blend in with the locals. At night, she goes to the prison and bribes the guards. They demand more, and then she threatens one of the guards with a knife. The guards flee, and then Borte tosses her husband a weapon through the cell bars. Temujin frees himself from the chains and escapes from the prison. The 4 of them get into a cart and reach a hideout where they have dinner and spend the night. Finally, the family is reunited and returns to their homeland. They enjoy peace, and Temujin teaches the children to respect the Mongolian language. He promises them that one day everyone will speak this language. Then he promises his son to go in search of his future bride, but doesn't reveal that he has already thought of names for their future sons. However, when Borte tells her husband about the changes that have occurred in their lands while Temujin was in prison, he is shocked. He learns that his comrades now kill, plunder, and spare, not even the children. All of this deeply troubles Temujin, and he orders Borte to take the children and return to their native settlement. The girl is saddened that they have to part again, and so quickly. Temujin heads straight to the place where he prayed to Tengri in his childhood and asks for assistance in realizing his plan. Khan dreams of introducing laws in Mongol lands that will strengthen their bonds, put an end to plundering, and inspire women to bear children. He decides to implement the death penalty for those who raise a sword against children and women, refuse to aid a traveler, engage in theft, betray their Khan, or drop their weapons in battle. His dedication to this cause bears fruit. Several years pass, and Temujin's enormous army is already standing in the steppes, preparing for the decisive battle with Jamuka. His former comrades' forces are significantly larger, but Temujin is confident that he knows how to win this battle. Initially, he sends only a small detachment into the fight. Jamuka's warriors defeat them, then drive the humiliated losers further into the steppe. However, they do not yet suspect that this is an ambush, and other warriors are already sitting with their bows ready for action. Then, Jamuka orders an attack on the remaining part of the army. The massive cavalry charges towards the army of Temujin's Khan, and it seems like the end. However, at this critical moment, God Tengri, whom Temujin had fervently prayed for help, comes to their aid. Dark clouds gather over the battlefield, and a fierce thunderstorm begins. The warriors of both Khans are terrified by the thunder and lightning. They fall to the ground and shield themselves with their shields. But Temujin's subjects notice that he doesn't even flinch and continues to walk across the field on his horse. This unflinching demeanor of their leader inspires his subjects, especially considering that Khan had taught them never to abandon their weapons on the battlefield. The warriors pursue the fleeing enemies and achieve victory. Later, Temujin walks through his troops and learns that his old foe, Torgutai, was killed while attempting to escape. Khan also presents the defeated subjects of Jamuka, and among them, he sees an old man who had once fed him during the ordeal of the wooden collar. Khan orders the old man to be given a herd of horses and to set up a yurt next to his own. Then, Khan heads towards Jamuka, who was captured by his forces. The former ally stands before him, on his knees, and states that he is no longer a leader. Temujin suggests forgetting past grievances, but his opponent refuses. He claims that it's already too late, and perhaps the most logical thing to do would be to kill him. Nevertheless, Temujin rejects this idea. He gives his horse to Jamuka and peacefully asks him to leave. Temujin's people celebrate the victory, and he himself tells Borte that he is compelled to finish what he started, but promises always to return home. Years pass, and Temujin earns the title of Genghis Khan, the ruler of all Mongols. He conquers half the world, and yet the Tangut state disappears from the face of the earth. However, he decides to preserve exactly the monastery that the old monk, who saved his life, was so concerned about.